Coronel's latest music video. She appears alongside Mariel Colon. She used to be El Chapo's lawyer. Now, she's a narco corrido star. Emma is more of a guest star in this video, but the message is clear. The two women speak of Shorty, aka El Chapo, and JGL, aka Joaquin Guzman Loera. The message is pretty clear. Emma is a star, and her husband's been in America's toughest prison for 5 years now, but she still thinks of him, and his name will forever be tied to hers. But how does Emma feel about Chapo today? Let's explore their complicated marriage, everything that happened after El Chapo's third arrest in 2016, and what Emma Coronel has to say about her husband in her latest music video. Emma Coronel Ispuro's story reads like a Hollywood script, packed with drama, romance, and danger. Born on July 2, 1989, in San Francisco, California, Emma's life was destined for excitement from the start. Her parents, Bianca and Inez, seemed like ordinary folks. Her dad was a cattle rancher. But there was more to the story than met the eye. Here's the kicker. Emma's father wasn't just raising cattle. He was also an active member of the infamous Sinaloa cartel. That's right. Emma's dad worked for none other than El Chapo himself. Talk about a family business. Now, let's talk about El Chapo for a moment. When Emma was born, this guy was already a big deal in the criminal underworld. Born in 1957, El Chapo was a whopping 32 years older than Emma. Can you believe it? He even had kids older than her. His firstborn daughter, Alejandrina, came into the world in 1977. The year of Emma's birth, 1989, was a big one for El Chapo. It was the year he clawed his way to the top of the Sinaloa cartel, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. But for baby Emma, this was just normal life. Growing up, Emma lived in two worlds. On one side, there were the tough, scary cartel men. On the other, there were high school beauty pageants and the glitz of California life. It was like she had a foot in two completely different universes. Emma wasn't the type to be shocked by the cartel life. After all, it was in her blood. Not only was her dad in the family business, but her uncle, Ignacio Coronel, was also one of Mexico's most dangerous cartel criminals. He was on the authorities' most wanted list, and Emma knew this, but it did not faze her. Despite all this, Emma managed to have a pretty normal teenage life. She even won the Coffee and Guava beauty pageant while in high school. Little did she know, this victory would change her life forever. You see, that beauty pageant is what caught El Chapo's eye. Yep, the big bad cartel boss noticed the young beauty queen, and sparks flew. Right after the pageant, El Chapo and Emma started a fiery relationship. Now, what caused this whirlwind romance? Was it El Chapo's intimidating presence, Emma's desire for money and status, or was it, believe it or not, true love? We may never know for sure. In a twist that sounds more like a soap opera than real life, Emma celebrated her 18th birthday by getting married. And who was the lucky groom? None other than 50-year-old El Chapo himself. Yeah, the age gap is hard to overlook. Their wedding was a lavish affair, with some very interesting guests. Among the crowd were dozens of high-ranking Mexican army officials and politicians. Makes you wonder what kind of wedding gifts they brought. It's also a sad reminder that Mexican cartels flourish thanks to all the corrupt officials who are happy to be in the pockets of people like Chapo. Now, Emma and El Chapo's relationship has always been a bit complicated. When they tied the knot, Emma claimed she had no clue what her new hubby did for a living. But come on, let's think about this for a second. First off, Emma's immediate family were active players in the Sinaloa cartel. It's not like they were working a 9-to-5 at the local supermarket. Secondly, El Chapo wasn't exactly keeping a low profile. He was already a famous fugitive by this point. Let's back up a bit. In 1993, El Chapo had been arrested in Guatemala for murder and drug trafficking. He was shipped off to Mexico and slapped with a 20-year prison sentence. But that did not stop him. For the 7 years he spent behind bars, Chapo had preferential treatment, far above what the other inmates were being offered. He was bribing the warden so that he could have chef-made food, tobacco, alcohol, and even conduct his dirty business on his prison phone, almost like Pablo Escobar in his hotel-like prison. And in 2001, fearing extradition to the US, Chapo bribed his way out of prison. And we're not talking about slipping the guard a few bucks. El Chapo reportedly spent a cool $2.5 million to escape in a laundry cart. Some 70 people were involved in his scheme, so there's just no way Emma could have been in the dark about her husband's, let's call it, his career. But hey, she could always deny it to the press and play the innocent card, right? And as it turns out, Chapo and Emma's relationship was complicated in more than one way. El Chapo wasn't exactly a one-woman man. Before Emma, he'd had at least 2 or 3 other wives. According to Anabel Hernandez's book, Emma and the Other Narco Women, El Chapo never even divorced his first wife, Alejandrina Salazar. This little detail throws a wrench in the works. It means that Emma might not actually be El Chapo's legit wife. Awkward, right? When the media confronted Emma about this, she just shrugged it off, saying she and El Chapo were married under the law of the divine. Whatever that means. El Chapo's reputation as a ladies' man is well known. He's had more marriages than most people have cars, and his affairs? Too many to count. So, is Emma really blind to all this? Or is she just putting on a brave face for the cameras? Throughout all of Emma's interviews, she's stuck to one clear message: defend El Chapo, no matter what. It doesn't matter how serious the accusations are, Emma's got her man's back. Throughout Chapo's 2017 trial, Emma stood by his side, day by day, blowing him kisses and smiling for the cameras. She said about this:
Bueno, yo pienso que es lo que haría cualquier esposa en mi lugar, ¿no? Estar con su esposo en momentos difíciles, que son los que está pasando en este momento, de una forma u otra, para que me sienta y me vea presente y se sienta.
In 2011, Emma gave birth to twin girls, Emil and Maria. Being the smart cookie she is, Emma headed to California for the birth. Why? Because she had dual citizenship, which meant her girls would be American citizens. When asked about this decision, Emma said,
Como yo nací allá, supuso que era buena idea que también fueran ciudadanas americanas.
¿Por qué es buena idea ser ciudadano americano?
Por si quieres vivir en otro país, pues Estados Unidos se me hace buena elección y pues necesito que ellas estén donde yo estoy.
Sounds like Emma was thinking ahead, doesn't it? Here's another interesting tidbit. On the girls' birth certificates, there's no mention of a father. It looks like Emma was trying to protect her daughters from any future legal troubles. Smart move, considering there was a $5 million reward for El Chapo's capture at the time. After the birth of the twins, things started to get really wild. In 2014, El Chapo was arrested and thrown in prison in Mexico. But remember, this wasn't his first rodeo. He'd been in prison before, and by now, he had even more money and connections. So, of course, he wasn't planning on sticking around for long. This time, El Chapo was in a maximum security prison. No more laundry cart escapes for him. But he was crafty. He noticed that while the prison was full of security cameras, the showers were camera-free. So what did he do? He had his people dig a tunnel right under his shower.
So this is the tunnel that Joaquin and Chapo Guzman came out of. We're gonna go down and take a closer look. Yeah, this is maybe about 20 feet, 25 feet maybe.
And here's where it gets really interesting. That mile-long tunnel, it led straight to a construction site where Emma had just bought some property. Coincidence? I think not. El Chapo escaped right into his new home. At this point, Emma couldn't really pretend she wasn't involved in the Sinaloa cartel anymore. Whether she helped her husband escape out of love or fear, we may never know. But El Chapo's freedom was short-lived. In 2016, he was arrested again. This time, things were different. El Chapo was extradited to the United States in 2017, and he looked scared. For the first time, it seemed like he was realizing just how serious his situation was. During his trial, El Chapo was found guilty of 10 charges. People testified against him, including family members of his right-hand man, El Mayo. One witness even claimed El Chapo had made a $100 million bribe to a former Mexican president. His trial highlighted both his unspeakable cruelty and the high-stakes corruption in Mexico. But Emma, she stood by her man. She attended every single day of the trial, waving and blowing kisses to El Chapo across the courtroom. It was like a bizarre romance movie playing out in real life. When interviewed about the trial, Emma dismissed the witnesses.
Pero pues obviamente hay que recordar que esas son personas que les dieron vida, ¿no? Entonces pues ellos van a decir cualquier cosa o para tener algún beneficio, entonces pues no me clavo mucho en esas cosas.
Que estás desde que tú llegas se le ilumina la cara al Chapo. Es algo que nunca habíamos visto los periodistas cuando vimos las audiencias, pero cuando tú entras a corte se le ilumina la cara, te saluda. ¿Qué sientes en ese momento cuando lo ves de esa manera?
No, pues muy contenta de que a pesar de la situación en la que está pasando, de lo fuerte que es todo esto para él y para nosotros, verlo que sonreía o que se emociona, pues es una tranquilidad que me da como que...
Emma's loyalty to El Chapo was unwavering, no matter what came out in the trial. People testified about torture, murder, and El Chapo's many mistresses, but Emma didn't flinch. Why? Well, it turns out she probably already knew all about it. During the trial, some text messages between Emma and El Chapo were read out in court. In these messages, they casually chatted about El Chapo's bloody business dealings, like they were discussing what to have for dinner. They even joked about their kids joining the cartel someday. El Chapo wrote, "Our Kiki is fearless. I'm going to give her an AK-47 so she can hang with me. Father of the Year material." Right there. So, it's pretty clear that Emma isn't some innocent bystander in all this. She knows exactly what the Sinaloa cartel is all about. But the big question remains, what kind of husband is El Chapo? Emma has never publicly spilled the beans about her life with El Chapo, but there are some clues. The biggest one is her fierce loyalty. She supports him through long trials and horrible accusations. She's like the poster child for stand by your man. But there's another side to this. Emma doesn't just support El Chapo. She actively defends him to the media. She denies his guilt and points fingers at his enemies.
Creo que sí, de repente me molestan, como cualquier persona, ¿no? Que estén diciendo cosas de una persona cuando tú sabes lo contrario, entonces, pero no, me trato de no enfocarme en comentarios negativos o ese tipo de cosas, cuando yo sé que no es verdad, pues no.
Is this devotion or fear? Is Emma controlled by El Chapo like the rest of his cartel? Or is she just trying to keep herself and her daughter safe?
He really controlled his entire empire, and he did it on purpose. Chapo didn't trust anyone.
After all, if Emma ever admitted to El Chapo's crimes, she'd be in a tough spot. El Chapo might want revenge, and the authorities might seize all her assets. Who wants to give up a life of luxury, right? Interestingly, after El Chapo's arrest, Emma used her newfound fame to pursue an even more glamorous lifestyle. She created an Instagram account and racked up over 500,000 followers. She even registered a fashion line trademark called El Chapo. All the while, Emma kept appearing on TV, pleading for better treatment for El Chapo in prison. She complained about guards chatting outside his cell and his high blood pressure. It was like she expected him to have the same cushy setup he had at home. We are only asking the government to take care of him and to respect his basic rights. We are not asking anything else. We only want them to let him rest. Journalist Annabelle Hernandez says Emma is impossible to figure out. When you meet a person, sometimes you can say, this person is like this or like that. With Emma, I have learned that no, it is more complex than that. She is not like a book. She is not easy to read. In a 2016 interview with the Los Angeles Times, Emma made it clear she was in it for the long haul with El Chapo. I will follow to wherever he is. I am in love with him. He is the father of my children. She also described El Chapo as a gentle soul, saying, he is like any other man. Of course, he is not violent, not rude. I have never heard him say a bad word. I have never seen him get excited or be upset at anyone. But Emma was in the courtroom when Chapo's former bodyguards described instances where he'd personally beaten people to death and worse. Moreover, he was also known for DV against his former partners. When confronted with El Chapo's known history of violence toward his ex-wives and mistresses, Emma claimed ignorance. According to her, he was never violent with her. She even defended her father and uncle, insisting they were wrongfully charged for their cartel activities. But in 2021, the truth finally came out. Emma herself was arrested for conspiracy, trafficking, and helping El Chapo escape from prison in 2015. In November 2021, she pleaded guilty and admitted her involvement in the Sinaloa cartel. She was sentenced to 3 years in prison, ordered to forfeit $1.5 million, and will be supervised for 4 years after her release.
The wife of kingpin El Chapo has been released from a Long Beach halfway house. Emma Aispuro was convicted in 2021 of drug trafficking and money laundering. Her husband, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, ran the Sinaloa drug cartel and is currently at a supermax prison in Colorado.
Before her 2021 arrest, Emma lived the high life, and she let her daughters partake in all the blood money earned by her husband. Huge Barbie-themed parties flooded the internet, but everyone said the same thing. This party was paid for with money made from murder. El Chapo had to forfeit $12.6 billion, and yet Emma still had the means to live a lavish life. Some netizens also commented that she won't be safe as long as she flaunts her riches like that, with her husband convicted and behind bars for life. And in 2021, their worries were proven right. She was charged with conspiracy, trafficking, and helping Chapo escape his second prison. She also admitted to acting as a courier between Guzman, who led the cartel, and other organization members while he was being held in Mexico's Altiplano prison after his 2014 arrest. Now, Emma is out, and she is still making headlines with her clothing line and, more recently, music videos. She is not done being the center of attention. In the cartel world, there's an unspoken rule about narco wives keeping quiet and not flaunting their riches. You're not exactly protecting your husband from arrest if you're bragging about what you bought yourself with his blood money. Journalist Annabelle Hernandez, who wrote a book on Emma, has a theory. According to Annabelle, Emma was getting her revenge on Chapo. El Chapo was seriously unfaithful to Emma, the opposite of what she was to him. She protected him, covered for his crimes, helped him escape, and put herself in harm's way for him. And yet, he continued to sleep with other women and commit heinous crimes every single day. Perhaps he was just as violent toward her as he was with other women. It's hard to see how a hardened criminal like Chapo, who learned he could do anything with impunity, would change for the better. So the minute Emma realized her husband would never leave prison again, she decided to make him see what he was losing. In the summer of 2024, Emma appeared in Mariel Colón's new music video for La Señora.
Por ahí dicen que flaquea y yo sé que a veces llora.
Emma teamed up with an unexpected partner, her husband's lawyer, 31-year-old Mariel Colón, for a new song that's turning heads. Their track, La Señora, isn't just any old tune. It's a musical biography of sorts, diving deep into Emma's relationship with Chapo. While her husband's name doesn't make a direct appearance in the lyrics, there are plenty of not-so-subtle nods to him. The song throws around nicknames like Shorty, that's what El Chapo means in Spanish, and Mr. JGL, a wink to El Chapo's full name, Joaquin Guzman Loera. In the song, Colón paints Coronel as quite the character. She's described as a queen with a humble heart, someone who's been knocked down by life but keeps getting back up. There's even a bit of intrigue thrown in, with lyrics wondering who turned their backs on Coronel when she was behind bars. But it's not all about her tough times. The song also takes time to hype up Coronel's looks and smarts. According to the lyrics, she's got a small waist and beautiful eyes, plus a brain for business and a strong voice for the thugs. The real kicker comes at the end of the song. Without actually naming El Chapo, Coronel, through the lyrics, makes it clear where her heart lies. She's sticking by her man, even though the chances of seeing him again are slim to none. The song wraps up with a heartfelt message. Her heart has an owner. Just remember that. Mr. JGL. May God bless you and take care of you. The lady is still with you, even if you don't look at her. It's quite the musical love letter from a wife to her imprisoned lord husband, who said romance was dead. With Emma's arrest, the mask of the innocent, devoted wife finally slipped. But even now, she continues to defend her husband fiercely. Is it love or fear that drives her? Are her kids safe now that the cartel knows she cooperated with the authorities? And will her devotion stand the test of time as El Chapo remains behind bars? Emma Coronel Aispuro's story is far from over. It's a tale of love, loyalty, crime, and survival. As the years pass and El Chapo serves his life sentence, only time will tell how Emma's story will unfold. Will she continue to stand by her man, or will she finally break free from the world of cartels and crime? Whatever happens, one thing's for sure: Emma's life will never be boring. Hey guys, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on Emma Coronel? Will the Sinaloa cartel punish her? Let me know what you think in a comment, and before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and click that bell button so you never miss a new episode. See you next time.